keep skipping over those ones. So we talked through those. I don't remember if we talked about bulk approval last time. Bulk approval is another one that you have to have a funding filter before you can even like get to the screen. So right now, because I picked that funding agency of BIA here on staging, it let me go to this bulk approval screen. Now, you can see that I don't have any data down here. The only data that's going to show up on this bulk approval screen is going to be treatments and activities that have all of those required fields filled out and they're ready for approval status. They'll show up on here and you can mark them as approved or unapprove them or click them as request unapproval, just based on who's here and what they're using it for. Let me see if I can. I don't think we have test data. I want to pick on these guys again. I'm going to go ahead and see if we have any in here. I don't have a filter on. Yeah, I do. All right, cool. So you can see that the selected totals up here on the left-hand side, they're all zeros because I haven't selected anything. Selected means I've clicked the checkbox. This all filtered result totals means everything based on my filter that is on this screen. So I can see what these breakdowns are. Depends what you're looking for. I know Henry uses this screen a fair amount for approving things. I know that some of the leaders do, but instead of me bumbling through it, do you want to talk to this screen for Postfire?
Sure. Biggest thing is you've got to query it to go back to the filters, as Heather mentioned. And so what I will typically do is zeroed in on a region. Let's say Wendy said, "Hey, I've got all these things, that need approval process." So by going through your basic filters, you can quickly say, well, I want to get a funding organization with the National Park Service. So that's good. You then can go through and look at the status to see if it's been regionally approved. So click on approvals. That will then, you can say, okay, yep, we've already got things approved up through the agency, but not department approved. So by having those types of filters already selected and queried, yep, and you can put in there no departmental approval has been in place. Same thing would happen if it was an agency or regional. That logic follows. You're then able to apply that filter, then go back to the bulk approval dashboard, and it should pull up. I'm not seeing a particular list here. Maybe we got our filters.
Well, this is for Postfire, so.
Oh, this is Postfire, so we're not going to see it. So
I could actually, yeah. I could flip this if you want.
That's all right. So then you'll be able to narrow it down based on, again, the region, the type of work that's occurring, and you can then quickly review the information that's in this dashboard to say, hey, what's the listing here? What we're looking for at the department, of course, is where do the funding amounts based on the allocated funding that we have for the year? How does that measure and tally with the approved budget? And then assuming that all of that lines up, we're then looking at the types of actions. And then you can quickly go through, you can individually select or select all, just as Heather did. She just did the broad select at the top, or you can go through and click individually, ones that you're like, yep, that's good, that's good, that's good. And then if you go up to the top where it's got local approval, regional approval, agency approval, and the department approval, you can select the entity who you are. So in this case, we're doing the example of department approval. I would click department approve date and then mark, the number that I had selected as approved. So it's a much faster way to do a number of actions, at once. Yeah, let's stop there. Jennifer, questions?
And Henry, as I understand it, once it's departmental approved, then it's stuck. Like you can't change the dollar amount. You
Correct.
can't edit it. So once we put our projects in, the parks approve it, then the regional coordinators approve it, then I approve it, then Brad approves it. And once Brad clicks that button, it's a done deal. But to edit it, if something goes awry, then that we have to go to Brad to unselect it, right? And then we can edit the costs or something like that.
Correct. There's a way, maybe Heather can go back and show you that request on approval.
Is that how you would do an amendment? Like, because we do amendments all the time. Well, that's for ES. I don't know how ES fits in here, but we do amendments for ES regularly. So would that be a good example? Like we have a bear plan that's approved and ES is set like $50,000. They need $10,000 more, which is an amendment. So then we'd have to work with Brad to fix that. Or is that is that another ES treatment or activity?
Well, if it's something that is, specifically to an associated, treatment within a project, and you've already worked through the process and received approvals, then yes, you would need to go through and request an approval for that, so you could go in and edit those fields. If you know that you're going to be doing it frequently, and you're like, yeah, we're not quite there where we feel like for the plan, we know there's going to be some changes, then I would not work it necessarily all the way through the approval process. I would let I think we talked about this maybe on the first training, as Lou said, estimates can be really helpful because you're just working through the plan to get things to a point where you're like, now things are finally ready that we could, fully implement things. So the estimate still gives us a great, a large amount of information, because you're able to look at, what's the dollar amounts that are there. And so you're able to work through, say with Brad, to say, okay, I've got my estimated, here's what I'm proposing that we would fund this year. You could still be able to do that without going through, the full approval process. But if you're like, you got the plan is solid, you don't expect that you're going to be making many changes, then definitely work it through, get it approved. And then if there are subsequent changes that need to occur, you can then go in and request an approval to go back in and edit your estimated to reflect what changes have occurred. And Heather's doing some quick, editing here just to show you some examples of, hey, if I've got this filled out, I've got funding added.
Okay, so reminder that there are requirements for the dates that you can't put them in the future. I can't approve something in the future. However, if we have them approved all, and then you can see as soon as I put that last approval in, this request on approval button came up. So apparently I have permission to do all of the approvals. And then, but say you're local, or you're not Brad, you can come in here and you can click request on approval, and it would say, whatever, a reason. I would add that, and then your status up here turns into unapproval requested. So, you can either give Brad this, like if it's just a one-off thing that you're doing, you can come up here in this URL, copy this, paste it to Brad, and say, hey, requested unapproval on this one. Or if we're talking about like a big thing that happened, and there's a whole bunch of them that are affected, or several of them anyway, you could have Brad and Henry probably both have a custom filter saved. So they would be going into their they would go into their custom filter, pick the one that says unapproval, because they can look for just ones that have that status. So filter it down, and then they would go up to their book approval screen, and with that filter applied, and they would be able to see a list of all of the unapproval requested treatments or activities and be able to do those all at the same time.
Yep. That's a good summary, Heather.